Hey, it's Alan Berg. Before we get into this episode, I'm starting something called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You submit your questions and they could become an entire episode or something that I answer at the end of an episode. To submit your questions, look for the red button at podcast.alanberg.com. That's right, podcast.alanberg.com. Click on the red button, submit your question, and maybe you'll hear it here on the podcast. Thanks. The pursuit of money doesn't bring me the happiness I seek. Oh, now I'm getting profound on you. Listen to this episode. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, author, sales trainer, website reviewer, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hey, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I was going through some old digital notes. I have a digital notebook and I had a ton of old notes in there. So I was trying to delete them so it'll sync faster. And I saw this note that said, the pursuit of money doesn't bring me the happiness I seek. The pursuit of happiness brings me the money I need. I was like, wow. I mean, I think I wrote that 6 years ago. Now, I must have heard it somewhere. I don't think I just wrote it for myself. So I don't know who to attribute it to. Didn't have it. Or maybe I just came up with this profound thought and I wrote it down. I don't know. But it's so true to my life. I was a guest on somebody else's podcast recently, and they asked me why I do what I do. And I said, it has to fulfill two things. I said, I don't do it for the money. It has to bring me joy and bring you value. And if it does both of those, I will cash the check. If it doesn't bring both of those, I don't want the check. If it brings me joy and doesn't bring you value, that's, for me personally, that's a hobby. There shouldn't be money in that. If it brings you value and doesn't bring me joy, I don't want to do it, right? Life is too short to do things you don't want to do. And yeah, we all have some tasks and things that we don't like to do as much. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your main everyday. It has to bring you joy. And of course, there is doing the business side, and then there's doing the events, right? Like I remember a very famous speaker. We were sitting with some other speakers at a conference, and he said, I hate my job. And we all just looked at him like this record scratch sound had just happened. Like, what do you mean? He said, no, don't get me wrong. I love speaking. I love being on stage and speaking. I hate my job, which is all the other stuff, the back end stuff. And a lot of you can relate to that. Like you love doing the weddings and events more than the business side. It's actually the subtitle of my book, Stop Selling and Help Them Buy. It's for people who love doing events more than they love selling them. So this idea of the pursuit of money doesn't bring me the happiness I seek. I can go back through my life and find times where I chased the money and I wasn't happy. As a matter of fact, I'm in this industry because I was in a job that I was being paid really well, and I had a company car and paid benefits, and I was miserable. And the money was great, but I was miserable. And that's why I took a job in an industry I didn't know, doing outside sales, which I had never done, doing cold calling, which I had never done, right? All those things. And my wife was pregnant at the time, and it was straight commission, no salary, no draw, no minimum, no guarantee. I did that, right? Chasing the money made me unhappy. Right. And then I was able to find that I love doing this. This is why I've been doing it for so long. I can't imagine not doing this because it feeds those two things. It brings me joy and it brings you value. And therefore, it's not seeking the money, it's seeking the happiness, it's seeking that joy. And then the money comes. I don't think a lot about the money because I'm thinking about who else can I serve? Who else can I help? And when I do that, if it brings me joy and brings you value, yes, there's a transaction involved, but it's not transactional, right? Transactional is I'm doing it for the money. That's not the case. If you're doing weddings and events for the money, you're missing out on the joy that you're bringing to them at this event, because almost every case, right, other than what would it be, celebrations of life, which should be a happiness of celebrating the life of that person, hopefully well lived, right? These are all happy occasions: weddings, bar mitzvahs, quinces, right? Proms. These are all happy occasions. Fundraisers where we're trying to raise money for a good cause, right? These are all happy occasions. If it brings you joy to do it while bringing value to your customers, then yes, you should be cashing the check because that's where the money comes from. And we should not be afraid to charge for the value that we're bringing, because if they're getting value, there is a transaction involved because it did those things. So I'm glad I came across this note. Again, the pursuit of money doesn't bring me the happiness I seek. The pursuit of happiness brings me the money I need. I hope that you can live that truth as well. And if not, shoot for it. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe to this channel and post a review on your chosen platform, Apple Podcasts or whichever one. If you have any questions about anything in this episode or any of my episodes, email me directly at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com or visit my website, alanberg.com, alanberg.com. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests that you'd like to see, please again, email me or visit my website. Thanks for listening.